Whoa, how about that? Another episode of Jackman Radio. Really special episode tonight. We're doing a little bit of a Friday night panel to have some fun. We have the host of the Darkened Hour and geopolitical researcher extraordinaire, Mr. Adam Fitzgerald. Adam, how you doing, man?
Hey, thank you very much for having me on again, Jackman, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. Always fun having you on. And we're also joined by Forest Mommy. Forest Mommy, what's going on?
Oh, not much, just trying to keep up with everything, being off of Twitter, being lifetime banned from Twitter. So,
that's sad. Yeah, that's really sad.
I don't think I'm coming back, but we'll see. We'll see what Elon does, I guess.
Well, we're going to do a campaign to bring you back. I'm sure there is one. And also someone else who's had some great history with Twitter, Mr. Reed Coverdale.
What's up, guys?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I've got the Pete Quinones background right now. I look like I'm in my Fallout bunker. But
yeah, I was going to say, are you down in the Elon Musk's bunker as the nukes are flying, or what's going on?
Yeah, well, Ron Paul closed the door because he said he could. He did everything he could.
I tried.
Yeah.
I said, why didn't he give me a call? I didn't call his favorite son to go down there with him. Dad, where is it? Are you in the field in New Hampshire or Iowa? He didn't call me.
Well, he wanted to make sure there was no puberty blockers in the water supply to the bunker, so he was investigating it.
Well, that's good. I mean, we can write the Breonna Taylor sequel bill down there, and nobody will read it then either.
They'll just scream at you for writing it.
Yeah.
Say her name. Dude, that was the most retarded thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, so, I was just saying before, man, I just wanted to have a fun Friday night panel, and I think we have a rockin' all-star crew here. Eric and I haven't streamed in a little while. It's been... on a personal note, it's been pretty rough lately. I know Reed and Adam, you guys are aware. Eric and I lost one of our best friends in late September, and it's been really hard. So, but comedy has helped, and playing music, and I figured doing a stream, which is what we love to do. And our friend Patty was a big supporter. Came on the podcast last year, so he would love it and want us to continue doing it. So, I felt like it was time, especially with the likelihood of, the clock being closer to midnight than ever before. What do you guys put the likelihood of a nuke flying off? Well, let's go around here. Let's start with you, Adam. What do you think, and who's going to fire it?
I don't think we'll see a nuclear conflict anytime soon. I think everybody knows that the stakes are very high, but they're not going to go that high. Usually with like older presidents in history, they don't tend to cater to the doomsday scenarios. They're more of a long-term foreign policy planners. So, like Biden, I think basically is too old to basically have a very vested interest in an all-out conflict. That's why I think with the 2024 elections, if we see someone young like DeSantis, who I think is going to win, basically, I would be a little bit more concerned about prospects for a nuclear conflict.
Yeah, it's. The parallels, what we've seen, everyone talking about 6 decades ago, almost to the week recently, of the, Cuban Missile Crisis and what Kennedy had to go through. And I would tend to agree with you, Adam. I don't think any nukes are going to fly off, but certainly a lot of the people in charge, I think, are psychopaths. So I worry about an accidental nuclear event, whether it's a plane flying over that's loaded or whether it's miscommunication. I mean, I'm reminded of that story of the Russian fellow off of Florida waters, who was underwater there with a small crew. And I think their communications were damaged and they weren't able to, surface. So they thought Armageddon had already started, and 2 of them wanted to go ahead and launch the nuke, and one of them said no. So they ended up not doing it. But that just reminds you how close, we came and how close it could be. What do you think, Forrest Mommy?
I agree with you. I think if something happens, it'll be accidental. And I think I had Scott Horton on just to talk about nukes one time. And I think there's been almost 20 to 30 accidents like that, where it was that close, where it was just one miscommunication, So, yeah, I think it's just it's stupid we have them anyways. But I don't think it'll be a purposeful one. They'll be used to scare everybody for forever because for some stupid reason we have these weapons. And then if something happens, it'll be an accident, in my opinion.
Yeah, wasn't it Gorbachev and Reagan, Eric, who actually tried to scale back on nukes? They had those talks at that little house in Iceland, or where? What was the story on that, Eric?
Yeah, in Reykjavik.
We were talking about this.
Pretty sure it was right. Actually, the week we were born, on October 10th, 11th, and 12th of 1986, they met in Reykjavik in that small house there, and I think we're both pretty close to some significant reduction in arms and nuclear weapons, but ultimately the security apparatuses of both governments and countries won the day, and then nothing significant came of it. But yeah, I'm with the rest of you guys. I don't know that we're going to see one go off. You know, it would be an accident, and you would hope that they wouldn't use one in some kind of false flag bullshit or something where you're talking about millions of lives hanging in the balance. But I don't know, man. Adam was saying this before we were rolling. We see the Republicans take over. They're going to shift away from Ukraine and all that. And I'm sure Reed can attest to this too. They're going to move in a direction towards China hawking and Iran, and not having a real aggressive posture towards that part of the world, and not even have any consideration for some kind of treaty with Iran again, a nuclear deal or something like that. So, people like us who are aware of this stuff and pay attention, we're always more on edge than your average, Joe. But I try to remain hopeful. But as Trump says, we'll have to trust the plan and see what happens.
We're going to see what happens. Yeah. Are we going to war with Iran, Mr. President? I hope not. Not. That's our foreign policy. What do you think, Reed? The Baltic get in there and he's on the tip of the nuke like Dr. Strangelove? Or?
Yeah, if we get Baltic in there, I forget which one of you guys said, like, I was at your house recently. One of you guys said you put it at 1 out of 4 that we go into nuclear war. I think it was Mike. And I was like, what? No, I was like, I think we've gone from like 1 out of 1,000,000 to 1 out of 100,000. I think it's still a very, very small chance, but still, like 1,000,000 to 100,000 is not a good way to go. But I think if we get Baltic in the Senate, we might be down to 1 out of 4. We might get to those types of chances. But yeah, and you're right about China, but I'm not even convinced that the majority of the Republicans are even going to let up on Russia. I mean, I think maybe a couple of them, but if Blake Masters is the most anti-Russian war newbie we've got coming in, we're not doing good. Like he's not really that great. And then none of the other new Republican senators are good either. So I don't know. I'm not optimistic.
Yeah, I think I was just feeling really pessimistic that day, Reed. I think I was just reading a lot of the
been the Bud Lights too that we were drinking.
I had a couple Bud Lights. Yeah,
he did say that though. I was like, what? 1 out of 4? Holy shit! You are doom filled, man.
Well, I mean, you see these articles where people are saying like, oh, a limited nuclear exchange. How the U.S. could win a nuclear war, and it's mind-boggling to me that anybody could even think that. Even one of those, even the low end ones are still 30 times more potent than what we dropped in Japan in 45. Yeah. So people, just the radiation from, people aren't even thinking about that if their consciousness is at a level where they think, even one nuke going off is acceptable. And I guess that's what scares me, because there are a lot of people who are like kind of maybe of that mindset, or they don't realize the significance or how serious it is. And that's what really kind of disturbs me.
Yeah. No, it's disturbing when you see articles that are already justifying limited nuclear wars, like limited nuclear. I mean, with all the mistakes we've had, like Forrest Mommy was saying, I know we dropped a couple nukes on North Carolina accidentally. They weren't armed, but we dropped them out of an airplane from like 10,000 feet or something. And, a lot of the facilities are way outdated and super old and don't have good security. Actually, believe it or not, John Oliver did a really great segment on how disastrously unkept our nuclear system is, and like how easy it is to infiltrate it, and how many mistakes we've almost fallen into over the past several decades. So yeah, it is definitely concerning. But with how well our government's handled inflation, and with how well they contained COVID-19 by stopping the spread, I really trust them with this stuff. At least we've got competent people in charge. That's all I can say.
Well, isn't it nice to know that I got your back, Reed? I got your back, your head, and your shoulders. I got it all.
You have more than my back.
Uncle Brandon, what kind of shampoo do you use for us, Mommy? Uncle Brandon wants to know, so we can tell Hunter.
So we can smell it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was 30. She was 12. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I question what do you guys think? Do you think Brandon's actually going to be able to run again? Because I think he hasn't announced it, but what he's basically said is I plan on running. But I mean, he's already a haggish 80. So in another 2 years, I mean, I don't know, man. They might try to put up like Buttigieg or
Fetterman.
Who?
Fetterman. He's my favorite dude. He's got to win. I'm going to drive to Pennsylvania and try to commit voter fraud for Fetterman. I love that guy.
I stand. I stand for fracking. I stand. I don't want to make fun of someone who had a medical issue, but I
do. Fuck him. He's running for Senate. Like if you don't have the common sense to drop out of the race after you've had a stroke, you deserve all the mocking and joking about your mental condition that you get. But
you've endorsed him, right, Reed? Like you actually you're thinking about knocking on doors and.
Yeah, I mean, if I lived in Georgia, I would vote for Herschel Walker, and if I lived in Pennsylvania, I would vote for Fetterman. So,
well, Herschel Walker was deputized, isn't he like the chief of police or something? He had like the
he's a sheriff. He's a sheriff from Toy Story. He's got that thing that Woody has from Toy Story. I was deputized, man. Look at this. We're gonna walk with Christ, and we're gonna send a warrior in this spiritual battle. I was watching him today, man. Oh my God.
He's amazing.
Pro-life. I am a pro-life candidate. And it's like, oh, babe, make sure you rest up after that abortion. I'll take care of the bills. Don't worry about it. There's been like 3 of those.
His son has come out against his campaign because he was like an abusive father or something.
I saw that, yeah. Or like he just was awful and he wasn't around. And I think that the tally is what, 2 or 3 abortions that he like paid for.
I think it's up to 3 now. Yeah,
really, it's the trifecta.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, it's incredible.
What color were the abortions? Do you know what race?
I don't know. I think the royal family was asking that question. You sound like the queen there for us, mommy. What color will the Markle children be? Will they be green like the reptilians, like their ancestors?
Oh man,
God. So Adam, you were saying you think that a spate of candidates, especially from the right, coming in, if they get elected, which ones do you think are most likely going to get elected, and what kind of rhetoric are they going to bring in, and what do you think they could actually do in terms of changing foreign policy if they get in there?
Well, I did say that the key states that are up for grabs are going to be Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. And I think the only state that's going to actually stay blue is Michigan. Arizona, I think, is going to flip. When I did my video the other night, I basically said that the race for governor is between Katie Hobbs and Carrie Lake. Actually, I like Katie Hobbs. She's actually a very good spokesman for the rise of inflation. She's been calling that for the last 2 years, even before we had this backlash of the starting economic tied to the recession. We're not in the recession yet, but we're going to be seeing that soon. But I like Carrie Lake. I think she's going to be the more popular choice there. CNN is basically saying that there's going to be likely a Senate flip, but there will be a House flip to Republican. I happen to think it's going to be Republican, both the House and Senate. Nevada, which was a surprise because Nevada basically is red, but it basically leaned Democrat for the first time in a very long time. Running for governor there is Steve Sisolak and Joe Lombardo for Republican. And I think what happened with Vegas, because I lived in Vegas for 10 years, and Nevada basically has a very large influx of Republicans. Mostly Southwest United States is heavily Republican, but it decided to flip, and that's because Nevada was under a revamp of sorts economically, and they blamed the Republicans for this, I think foolishly, in the 2004, 2008, when we were heading right into the recession, the housing recession, which affected Nevada the most. I think Nevada's going to flip big time here. And the big one is Pennsylvania. And if you were talking about the debates, I'm not calling that a debate. I think that is basically a handicap match. And basically, the handicap match was between a man who suffered a stroke and John Fetterman and a online personality in Dr. Oz. And if that's not scaring you, I don't know what will. We have one person who is physically unable, mentally and physically unable, and a guy who basically has no prior experience, but is quite evangelical in Dr. Oz. And I'm not going to basically put my faith in Dr. Oz or John Fetterman at this point. And Pennsylvania is a huge, huge state because I think basically with that debate, people saw and became horrified, saying, "Wow, we can't allow John Fetterman to win." So I'm going to make a prediction and say both the House and Senate flip red, and I think those key states, 5 out of the 6, will basically flip House and Senate red. I think Michigan will stay blue.
Yeah,
we need Fetterman. We need Fetterman.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I wanted to answer your question about what this means for foreign policy wise. There is a large influx, more than since the Bush administration, of Republicans that are heavily in favor of a China and Iran conflict, both at the same time. And I think this is dangerous because years ago, Lawrence Wilkerson, the advisor to Colin Powell, the Secretary of State of the Bush administration, basically said that if there, and this is 2004, where Lawrence Wilkerson said, if we have a Democratic president who will be anti-Iran war, and basically flips and says that, yeah, we'll basically entertain it, you'll see a large influx of generals walking out. When I interviewed Lawrence Wilkerson on my podcast, when I talked to him after the fact, and I brought up that issue in 2004, he says, I think it's going to be the reverse now. You're going to see a large influx of generals who are basically right-leaning, and they're going to advocate for the conflict, which would be an unmitigated disaster of mega proportions.
Yeah, I think, I remember when, Bush was in there, man, the rhetoric about Iran, I think I could definitely see that. I mean, it's always kind of been there simmering, but I could definitely see that coming back into the forefront, especially if you get some more hawks and neocon type people in there.
Mike, did you watch the debate between Hassan and Baldock or any of it?
I didn't, but I watched the Marjorie Taylor Greene one, and I was saying to Eric, I can't tell the difference between satire and it was 28 minutes of her just
yelling at him and him referring to himself as not Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was fucking amazing. It was
Maggie Hassan and Don Baldock, they were arguing over who wanted to stay in Afghanistan longer. As in staying in Afghanistan longer was a good thing. Baldock was like, she wanted to pull out of Afghanistan when Biden did. She was like, no, I didn't. I protested Biden trying to pull us out of Afghanistan. It was awful. And then they got into Iran, and Baldock was like, well, what's happening in Iran is tragic, but it's because we took our foot off the gas. And then she was like, oh yeah, well, I support strengthening our sanctions against Iran. And I was just like, oh my God.
So did you actually get in to watch it, Reed, or you just...
No, dude, I can't get anywhere near those guys.
Dude, they're not going to let him within 1,000 feet, Mike.
Yeah, what is it there? Joa, the libertarian activist, Joa?
Joa.
Yeah.
He's all
That's
over
all over
the
news.
Libertarian activist attacks Don Baldock.
Talk a little bit about what happened, Reed, because it's all over Twitter, but not all of us are on Twitter, unfortunately. I'm not on there. I wish I was.
I was inconvenient to the Baldock campaign as I am here, but I just originally showed up with a sign and was just standing there, and some of the Baldock supporters came over and talked to me, and they're like, hey, we like Jeremy, but we have to vote Baldock. And I said, I can't. He's a warmonger. And they're like, no, he's not a warmonger. He's not. So I had enough of these conversations that I had a loudspeaker and a Bluetooth speaker hooked up to my phone that I put up to the loudspeaker, and I was just playing that clip of Baldock advocating for war with Russia and China simultaneously, and I just played it over and over and over and over again. And then Joa was this other guy that was there, and he was being obnoxious. He was running up. He wasn't touching anyone or doing anything illegal, but he was being a bit of an asshole, just trying to egg them on, kind of Alex Stein like. And then Baldock showed up, and Joa ran up to him, didn't touch him, didn't attack him, didn't do anything. And two of Baldock's supporters ran out from the line and actually attacked Joa. And then Baldock elbowed Joa. You can see it all on video. It's clear as day. And whether he meant to elbow him, I don't really know. I don't know if it was as the guys were coming from behind him and bumped him. But either way, his elbow hit Joa. And then Baldock is grabbing his arm like this, acting like he's hurt. And he's like, he hit me. he hit me. And so then the cops tackle, or they didn't really tackle, they didn't like take him down, but they, they grabbed Joa and handcuffed him and arrested him, took him to the police station and everything. And then Baldick, afterward, he said that he had been, during the debate, he said, I was, assaulted right outside. And then in multiple interviews, he's gone back and forth between saying like, oh, I was almost assaulted, and then he was barely grazed. And then in another one, someone said he ducked a punch and he didn't even correct it. He's like, yep, thankfully the police officers were there to protect me. So there's all these headlines out there, all these articles saying like Baldick dodges a punch, or Baldick, like barely escapes assault from libertarian protester or whatever. Total bullshit. You can go watch the video, but it's pretty amazing. Like the right wing is all about fake news as well. It's not just the left wing,
Yeah, when you read some of the articles that came out about it, and then you watch that footage, it's just completely two completely different things. Complete inversion to reality.
Maggie Hassan condemned us too.
Is the Sarawak for us, mommy? What is it there? Jussie Baldock or General Smollett?
Jussie Baldock.
Or Jussie Baldock. This was his
that
moment.
Bulldog guy like literally he like right away said he hit me. Like he literally knew to say that right away. It was just like, come on, dude. Like,
I thought you were some kind of general who was staring down the Taliban and ISIS and Al Qaeda and the goat herders over there in Afghanistan, the Korangal Valley. But you got some long hair.
Can you imagine lying about something like that with so many cameras going? Because
that's how these people are. Look what Nick Sarwark did in our stupid little corner. So like, can you imagine like these people what they will do? Like
it's your Gulf of Tonkin force, mommy. It's the Gulf of Tonkin.
I wish I'd been there.
The Gulf of we should be calling it the Gulf of Baldick incident.
The Gulf of St. Anselm.
Now it's actually having an impact, isn't it, Reed, on his campaign and on
Reed's head, Mike.
Oh yeah. Well, so this is the funny thing is, we take any fucking news coverage we can get, like regardless of who's talking. But now all of left-wing media is coming in to be like, oh my God, Don Baldick assaulted a libertarian activist or whatever, and we're like, okay, this is weird, bedfellows, but yeah, like all these people with Ukraine flags in their bio who were just freaking out at us like a month ago for calling Zelensky a Nazi or whatever. Like now they're all retweeting us and like, yeah, this is so unjust. It's so weird, man, but I love it.
Oh, it's incredible. I was looking at a little bit of the story about the pipeline that got blown up. I mean, we still don't really know who blew that up. I mean, I tend to think it may have been us or something affiliated with NATO. Have you looked into that at all, Adam, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't do any deep dive of it, but there's been a lot of blame that goes around, and as soon as it happened too, this is a reoccurring problem that I think is going to get worse over time, is that immediately upon hearing the story over the viral media, we saw a wash of really outlandish conspiracy theories follow through, and this is basically helpful to those who actually helped blew up the pipeline too. So you never know what's going on, and you don't know what to believe because you don't know what you're reading. But I think basically this is actually, I don't think it would serve Russia any benefit here as to blowing up the pipeline itself. But I think basically this is actually an intelligence services problem. I think they're basically instigating. Now, who specifically? I mean, it's a guessing game from here. Basically, what MI6, CIA, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But one thing is for certain is that they tried all throughout the last 12 months. We see a huge push into goading Russia into a conflict. Not too much where they'll overreact, but enough to get them vested interest and deeper in the country. And we saw this in 1979 with Afghanistan, where the United States wasn't personally invested because the Afghan Mujahideen and the Arabs didn't want to deal with NGOs, non-government organizations, but they had to go through Pakistan to do it. Well, the United States washed the country with weapons and funding and money that went to God knows where. Well, same thing's happening in Ukraine, where they're basically pushing for a conflict and hoping for a elongated proxy war. We were talking about nuclear conflict. I don't think it would be beneficial to those in power who want to have their generations benefit from, funding off private military industrialists or having bioweapons labs that are south of the country. Jeffrey Kay, a fantastic author and geopolitical researcher, wrote a great article about the bioweapons labs that have been existing since the Cold War. So you have a lot of these vested interests that are coming from, the Democrats and Republicans that want to see a long war as opposed to a very short, devastating war that could kill off humanity, and no one benefits from that. So, I give credit a little bit to Russia, and by the way, Russia is a deplorable government. They are filled with the worst types of sociopaths imaginable. Putin is actually the leading slaughterer of dissidents in his country. So there's no Putin here. And I hate, when the left basically subjugates the libertarian movement, saying, oh, there are a bunch of GOPs hiding in sheep's clothing under the libertarian banner. No, they're the ones who are actually calling for anti-war all throughout. But the push for conflict is basically coming from both Democrats and Republicans, with the Democrats leading the way in this fight. And so, to be honest with you, I don't know specifically who did the Nordstrom incident, but I could tell you who benefited from it, and that is, of course, the United States and NATO allies who are pushing for this conflict to continue.
Can I ask a question? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead for it, Swami.
I thought I saw, this may have been already disproven because I'm not on top of my news as well as I was being off of Twitter, but there was like the lady from the UK, I believe, the one who she was in power for a minute and then she got out. Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, she just
Prime Minister. Yeah.
Yeah, and then supposedly there was I don't know if this was proven wrong, but because again, I'm in dark now, but she said something about it was done. She called somebody and said something, it was done right after the Nord Stream blew up. Does that sound familiar?
I haven't heard that, but
if I can interject a little bit, this was a conspiracy that was originated from forgot the name of the person that's his name. I had his name in my head. He basically spread this rumor saying that was part of the story that he linked into, and to find out that the story had nothing to do with that phone call. In fact, that phone call only existed that one person said, and I sorry, but I don't remember that Twitter handle's name. But basically, I looked into it because I said, wow, that's a smoking gun. No, I didn't find it anywhere in viral media. I've been looking for a good 3 days, nothing. So I even reached out to the person, said, hey, where'd you get this from? And he basically says, well, my sources. I said, well, you got to do better than that. And I hate to be a bearer of repeating news and stuff, but this is a huge, huge, I'm so anal when it comes to disinformation and misinformation. I really try to go out of my way to be punctual and be straight with my information and stuff like that, because we are awash with misinformation, disinformation, and what this does is create in the future people, generations of people that spread these theories and basically do nothing but lead you down a dead end. Meanwhile, the perpetrators, they get off scot-free. And this is a big issue I had. And I got
That's why I asked. I figured you would know. That's why I asked.
Yeah, no, I hate to harp on.
I don't care either way. I was just asking because I didn't.
Yeah, I got into a little bit of a trouble here. When Alex Jones got that civil suit, and I hate to go off tangent, but it's relevant.
Infowars.com.
I'm glad he got that 2.3 trillion. This will stop disinformation. Some people, and I won't name names, but some people gave me, a little bit of a rubbing there, saying this is about the First Amendment. I said, I understand your argument, but it's a little bit more deeper than that. Let me explain. I made a video basically talking about what the problem of Alex Jones is. Alex Jones will tell you something true, and then 90% of the time will tell you something that's untrue to keep him relevant. But what this does is basically, especially with 9/11, is that Alex Jones will create so many fictitious theories. And what this does is blanket the actual conspiracies relating to that subject. Now, he's been doing this for Iran. He's been doing this for China. He's been doing this for Sandy Hook, 9/11, 1993 Wall Street, you name it. This guy's been around. He has a huge platform, 30 years. 30 years. What type I can't imagine the amounts of people that come away listening to Alex Jones repeat that to friends and family, creating future generations of misinformed, disinformed people. And why is that a big deal with me? Because what this does is create a false paradigm and allows for certain people in government and the intelligence agencies, and especially foreign governments like Israel and the Gulf, they basically get away scot-free for the real crimes that they committed when there's real conspiracies being covered up because of disinformation from people like Alex Jones. And I understand the First Amendment is important, but remember this. They're not subjugating his speech because of the First Amendment. If he said something true and that came out true and he was subjugated for it, then there's cause for worry. But because this guy used his platform and basically disseminated false information and misinformation, well, to me, that's the bigger crime of, say, denigrating someone's loved one who was killed. Yeah, that's terrible. But the real crime is creating generation after generation of misinformed people that believe in theories that don't exist, allowing for the perpetrators of certain crimes to go unpunished. To me, that's the real crime. Sorry to go off on a tangent.
Yeah. No,
Would you say that's different from mainstream media, though, at all?
No different. No different.
It's the same, right?
And that was I'm just glad you brought this up for us, Mom, because the people who are critical of me coming out to that, they say, well, what's the difference between the regular media? Well, there is none. In fact, that's the whole point, is Alex Jones is doing the job of legacy media while he's declaring himself being an anomaly outside the media and trying to warn of a government like Illuminati or big world government, whatever, and these are vague terms. He never says real names or anything like that. But he's no
interdimensional demons. There's interdimensional demons here with us.
Yeah,
right now.
there's they're after me. That's why I had to add another hour, Adam, to InfoWars. I'm doing 25-hour days now, so we had another hour of the day. I looked at the sundial, I looked at Native American, I looked at Aztec artifacts, and I added another hour. I mean, I agree with you what you're saying, Adam, because he didn't do himself any favors, and he certainly didn't do people who really look into this stuff for real and want to get the real information out there. He didn't do any favors for those people either. So now when you bring up or question anything, you're just like, oh, well, you're QAnon, or you think Sandy Hook's is a hoax. Then you have to explain, no, I don't think that, and then go into it's exhausting. And
I've seen people say even like, oh, that's like Alex Jones kind of news or whatever, and it's like it invalidates it, but it's like, no, you can't. He should have been better. He could have been better.
I know we need Emmerich to be better. It's. I mean, I need to make a quick 1.75 trillion. I called my friend Hank Paulson to print it for me. He's working on it. I've got Cash He's working on it for me. So I need you to go to InfoWars, save InfoWars, buy my colloidal silvers. We're going to turn them into spears to use them to fight werewolves and demons like Kamala Harris. And I actually sold some of it to the guy that went to Pelosi's house, but that's a whole other story, folks. But yeah, I mean, it's it's insane, man. They're really sending a message with first it was 996 million, and now it's like what 1.75 trillion or something like that. Like, it's I don't know, it's over the top, man. But people are thinking that Elon Musk is going to change the face of like online information and activism and for the better. And I'm kind of pessimistic about that. I don't use Twitter, but I don't think that what was it, a $40 billion deal or however much it was, and most of it wasn't his money. I don't think that was for like benevolent reasons. I don't know. Call me crazy.
Well, he wants to put shit in our head. He wants to put shit in our brain. That's where I'm like, okay,
the chip,
buddy.
yeah. I mean, he's been one of the number one recipients for government grift and contracts since like 2004. Is Elon Musk and his companies, and I don't know. I'm not inclined to believe that he's like a friend to humanity. I don't know. Am I being pessimistic, or do you think there might be something to that?
No, he's even basically said that kind of stuff. Like he thinks humans are just cyborgs, kind of, and like I understand the whole like Neuralink could help actual health issues for some people and stuff, but then it's also like we've all seen the Black Mirror episodes. Like it could go very bad very quickly, right? Like
just get the chip, yeah. You can
like
just
why would you want to put a chip in everyone's brain? I just don't trust someone who wants to do that.
He's also talked about some very scary things like robot sex dolls from Tesla in the shape of Rosie O'Donnell, if you could believe that. That's very scary. And we're going to talk about war in Iran. We're going to drop a battalion of 10,000 of those in Tehran. There's no telling what will happen.
Kermit Roosevelt couldn't even have dreamed of 10,000 Rosie O'Donnell sex dolls going into Tehran. I mean, this is amazing stuff.
The
folks.
Revolutionary Guard, they see them. They see the big udders. They don't know what to do with them. Should I be turned on? Should I be horrified? Should I run? Should I suck on them? I don't know. And what they don't know is there's thermite in one of them and RDX in the other one, and they're going to blow all of them up. Tehran's going to be on fire, and it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be.
Can you imagine if Nancy Pelosi's tits were full of thermite?
Dude, they're full of something.
So there's some more information came out about that.
About Nancy Pelosi's tits?
No, I haven't seen those ones. I don't know.
Her husband hasn't seen them either.
NBC was reporting on it, and then they pulled it.
That's the new fappening. It's a congressional leak. It's mostly it's mostly gay stuff from RNC with Jeffrey Dahmer. But no, I guess because the initial report on Politico was like, an unnamed, unknown third person answered the door, but I guess it was actually Paul Pelosi that answered the door when the cops came. I don't know. The whole thing is a little weird. I mean, what do you guys think about that? What have you seen?
Do you want me to talk? Do you want me to say?
Yeah, what do you think, Forrest Mommy? What are your thoughts on it?
It was some gay ass shit. And I was just listening right before I popped on with you guys because Tim Cass was diving into it too with that whole NBC art. Because the NBC guys were talking to the cops directly, apparently, and they were saying what the cops said happened. But they're saying after the cops came to the door, that's when the dude attacked him. There's no way we will ever fucking know what happened, right?
Right.
But the fact that they came out and were like, "Oh, it was some QAnon MAGA," that's what's annoying to me is where they tried to politicize this shit right away, and then it's just bizarre that they want to control the narrative of it so much. Why couldn't they just keep it quiet anyways if they wanted to keep it quiet from the very beginning? I don't get it's a weird one.
What's really interesting too about this, I don't know if you heard this, Adam, but the guy there, whatever his name is, LePape, or he was dating Gypsy Taub, who was a really out there 9/11 truth person from years back. Are you familiar with her?
What's her name?
Gypsy Taub.
Never.
She's a really bizarre. She's a nudist. She's a nudist activist, and she's actually in prison right now for molesting an underage child. And this was this guy's wife and girlfriend for a while. So yeah, it is very bizarre.
So they have boundary problems to start with, or
they were coming from, So, he made a stop at the hardware store. He was watching Home Improvement, and he found himself over at Pelosi's. He evaded all the security. They had Kroll. Apparently, Kroll was doing security at the Pelosi homestead too. So who knows?
And they said, "Bang bang, Maxwell's silver hammer."
That's the thing. There's got to be video, right? Look at the fucking video.
Yeah, police body cam and the cameras all over the house. I mean, I know Pelosi was.
I think there's 87 cameras.
I was about to say they show video, Adam, and it's 5 blurry frames of ET hitting the Pentagon from Pelosi's house.
Exactly. They only show 5 blurry frames of the guy entering the house with the hammer, and then they won't show us the rest. There's 87 cameras right there. They won't show them. That's just kind of sketchy to me.
Damn it.
I said this to someone else, but I'm like, man, I wish I could use the mainstream media to cover up my sex scandals and shit. That's so what a cool thing that they could do. Just kidding, I don't have sex scandals.
Yeah, well, I mean, just on the local level, Reed, with the Bolduc thing, the way they spun that, of course they're going to spin this Pelosi deal. I don't know.
Mark Levin out of Boston. Or Howie Carr out of Mark Levin. Mark Levin too, though. He also talked about it. He also
Howie
said
Carr is a fucking ghoul.
Yeah, I meant Howie Carr, but he was reporting on it. My friend who listens to Howie Carr actually texted me, and he's like, "Did you guys attack Baldic last night or something?" And I was like, "No.
We attacked him with a dildo hammer."
Yeah, it was a double. Yeah,
but then Mark Levin was talking about it tonight. So it's and Hannity. It was talked about it on Hannity. It's all over the place. So.
It's a distraction. What is it? Just a distraction to distract us from something else? Because it's so bizarre.
That wants to go to war with Russia. I mean, I think he just made a stupid decision in the moment to pretend he got hit. But I mean, Baldic is just really dumb, dude. Like, that's what I think. He's really gullible. He's really dumb. He's not very smart. He doesn't think things through. I mean, he's on camera taking both sides of whether or not the 2020 election was legitimate, like multiple times, switching his position back and forth. And he's, you know, he's done tons of stuff like that on camera, but he's kind of like Trump, where he just thinks he can get away with it, but he's not Trump, so he probably can't get away with it forever. So I don't know. It's weird.
No one can create new paradoxes and realities in real time like the king. I mean,
Yeah,
no one
he's
has,
the only
no one
guy
has
who has a
this power.
monopoly on that.
I never said that she's in. Hillary Clinton's like, she has a name. It's Alicia Machado, and she votes. And you called her Miss Housekeeping and Miss Piggy.
Miss Piggy. Yeah.
And he's just like, where'd you hear that?
Yeah, he didn't deny saying it, Eric. It's like a high school debate for student council.
Where'd you hear that?
Yeah, he's not like, no, I never said. He's like, oh, where'd you hear that? You know.
So I'm reading, guys, an Axios reported on this that the king could be announcing as soon as 10 days from now for 24. And I mean, I think he gets the nomination. I mean, I don't know, Adam, were you saying earlier you think that if DeSantis runs, he'll win in 24, or you're saying like for his governor gubernatorial bid that's coming up, he's going to win?
Oh my God! Just imagine the amount. I mean, there's a part of me that says I just want to see all the real fun begin by having people like, you know, Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Tom Cotton and Joe Kent from Washington. By the way, if you don't know anything about Joe Kent, go to his Twitter page and you want to see a real psychopath. There's a guy who's basically begging to kill people in the Middle East. This guy's, and I can't take credit for that. That has to come from Robbie Martin. I never heard of the guy, but boy, oh boy, go to his Twitter page. This guy.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Adam, because Scott Horton came on my show today and he said, like, hey, I've heard some good stuff about Joe Kent, but I actually had a page already pulled up from Joe Kent's website about China.
You did this for me, read too, today.
Oh yeah? You didn't know that stuff about him either?
No, I said the same thing Scott said. I read some
That's
things
right
that
in
I
the
liked.
chat. Yeah.
Yeah, that I liked about him. But yeah, so you had that for Scott. What was Horton's reaction?
He was not impressed. Yeah.
Well, isn't he connected to Peter Thiel and some other kind of military intelligence?
Yes,
that's Blake Masters.
yeah.
I know. I think he is too, though, Adam. Right?
Oh, he might be too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's going to be a large. There's a large connection of these conspiracy theorists that have a connection with the current GOP process, and I think this is dangerous because a lot of these people are basically, you know, Lawrence Wilkerson once said to me, he goes, Democrats, they'll cut you slowly and you'll bleed to death slowly, but the end result's the same. The GOP will just outright kill you. And I thought that's pretty much dead on. Is that, you know, the Democrats today, they're old establishment hacks. So you have people like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden. You know, these guys have been around for 40 years, well past their prime. I mean, Joe Biden is the oldest president in the nation's history by 10 years. The other oldest president was Donald Trump. He was 70. Biden's 78. So we have a lot of these people that well past, but they're not like the GOP. The GOP is young. And I think this is the reason why I think they win, is because they're going to reach out to a lot of the youth. The Democrats basically old. They have nothing in common with the youth, but they're much more illiterate as opposed to the GOP. They're also much more, you know, on the face. They're much more easy with the eye. People get, oh, look, you know, Joe Biden looks like my grandpa. You know, Obama's a handsome man. You know, Trump and, you know, these other Matt Gaetz and all these, you know, like cartoon ghouls. And they basically can't speak. But it's like, I don't know what to tell you, but imagine all these GOP people come to Congress and you get people like Herschel Walker doing like a State of the Union speech. Boy,
you have no idea how much I want to see that, Adam.
I mean, it's the entertainment value, but it is really scary to think about. Like these are going to be people in power. Like, it's just like a clown circus.
Hey, listen, we're going to laugh now, Mike and Eric and Reed. We can laugh now. But when they take power, we're going to be fucking horrified. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, though, Adam, the like you were saying, and the Democrats, like, they're all like pro-war now. At least the Republicans are pretending to be anti-war. And
that makes them worse, though.
Well, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like the squad and Ro Khanna and all these so-called progressives, like, mincing words over that stupid letter and then walking it back. What a bunch of assholes! Like, where's
I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that pretending to be pro-war is more dangerous than being blatantly pro-war.
Yeah.
Let me. Here, Mike, are you running the StreamYard or is it Eric?
No, I'm running it. You got something you want me to show?
Yeah, I'll bring it up here. I'm just going to go to Joe Kent's what I was talking about earlier.
I think maybe I'll pray like Horton did to some of the stuff that he said, like when he met with Trump at the Dover Air Force Base, because Joe Kent's wife was killed by ISIS in Syria.
Yeah,
she was like a cryptologist with the NSA, embedded with SEALs or CIA over there, Adam, in 2019.
Yes,
and
that's what I learned about Joe Kent. Is that
and she was
CIA,
killed.
He served in Special Operations, Department of Operations, Directorate of Operations, Department of Operations. Yeah, so he's got a very nefarious background.
He's totally spooky, and you look at they're releasing his pay stubs, and those are connected to companies that essentially don't exist. They're just like in name only post office boxes, like out of Delaware and Florida and some other states, and those are just cutouts for intelligence.
So on his website here, his last two sentences are great. To fortify our key alliances, we must lead our allies we must not lead our allies on foolish nation-building endeavors as we have done in Afghanistan for nearly 20 years. We should only ask that our allies go to war when it is absolutely necessary, but then these entire two prior paragraphs completely undo everything he says in his last two sentences. So we must build a strong coalition of nations against the CCP's aggressive practices abroad and their genocide and human rights abuses against their own people. I will push to offensively use tariffs against China imports and sanction China for its numerous human rights violations. I will push our diplomats to make alliances in the Pacific against the CCP. I strongly support President Trump's tariffs, barring of Chinese technology, and cracking down on the CCP's infiltration of U.S. industry, think tanks, and university. And then the other thing is, right-wingers are just going to suck on China. That's typical. But down here, he says, I strongly support the historic accomplishments of the Abraham Accords in the Middle East. We must strengthen our NATO alliance and ensure that NATO shoulders its share of the security burden and does not support Russia by purchasing Russian oil and gas. So this guy sucks.
There you go. Yeah. And what's interesting too, like a lot of people who were talking about the whole, Russia-Ukraine issue in NATO, they're like, well, recently Finland was talking about joining NATO, and they border Russia for 700 or 800 miles or whatever, and it's like, well, Russia doesn't have the same history with Finland as they do with the Ukraine, and they, as far as I know, Finland's never really tried to mess with them or put missiles being aimed at their border. And like you were saying, Adam, no one here is like a Putin fan or like legitimately standing Putin, but except for Reed.
Yeah.
He's on my wood list. He's on my wood list.
He would.
For sure.
Yeah, when he's on the bear, when he's bare chested on the back.
Fucking undeniable.
Is he Forest Daddy? Would he be a forest, like a Russian Forest Daddy?
Yeah, Taiga Forest.
Only if he buys me horses and stuff, but other than
I would buy you horses and vodka. How about when he talks, Eric, how charming he is?
He's incredibly debonair and charming. And
when he was laughing at Megan, when he was laughing in Megyn Kelly's face, dude.
Oh,
that's incredible.
He was giving her a history lesson about the Kennedy assassination. He's like, yeah, you people did it,
I mean, look, Putin, he's a nice guy, okay? He's very tough. He loves his country. I love my country. He's got his interests. I have my interests, okay? I think it'd be nice if we got along, right? Yeah.
I mean, they made a 10-part series about Jeffrey Dahmer, so psychopaths are in vogue. And Netflix will make one about Putin, and we'll get I don't know, who can we get to play him? I mean, maybe the guy who played Dahmer. People would believe it.
He could do it.
Well, I mean, I want to see a Mel Gibson project with Yi. Like, I want to see Mel Gibson do Passion 3 with Yi as Jesus, or the movie Rothschild that Mel Gibson wants to direct with Yi as like. I don't know. One of the
new movie about Israel that he's going to make. He could have Ye, he could get Ye and Dawson to help him.
He could get Kanye to play Menahem Begin.
Well, I mean, don't we have Black Ariel now, Black Little Mermaid? So it would be the woke thing to have Kanye play the founder of Israel. I think that would be.
Kanye could play Theodore Herzl.
Dude, it's like, apparently Yi has lost out on quite a bit of opportunities with his recent turn towards based. It's
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can I bring up something? I want to get your guys' opinion because you're more libertarian. I mean, I'm not libertarian, so I want to get your opinion about something. The past 2 weeks, we've seen a lot of libertarian major names outspoken with anti-war, and then almost on cue, we see an influx of non-stories that were given the right attention, unfortunately, in the legacy media. One such person who won me over, and I've seen his name about, and it was basically he was at a debate. His name is Shane Hazel.
Oh, yeah.
And did you see what he did? Was it Georgia, I think?
Yeah, Georgia.
Okay. He
with
basically
Aunt Jemima.
he basically told this guy to his face that he goes, I don't think you're anti-war or anti-establishment at all. You back Raytheon. And I mean, I never saw a candidate say that in a live debate before. And I said, that's exactly what we need. We need these people to be called out for what they are. And basically, they didn't even invite him anymore.
That's why they didn't invite libertarians. Like they didn't in Colorado. They didn't even invite the libertarians to the major debates here because they know that's what's going to happen. No, Shane's awesome.
Yeah, same here in New Hampshire. They didn't invite us. Can you imagine with Maggie and Dawn arguing about, how long we should have stayed in Afghanistan with Mr. War is retarded up on the stage?
Jeremy's just like, you are a retard.
A retard.
Right, but you got a lot of these names like Jeremy Coffman and Shane Hazel and Dave Smith. All these guys are anti-war, and they're all of a sudden they're getting shut out. And then you get for what's really was out, which should be illuminating to everybody, is that you saw a partisan effort to denigrate, people like Dave Smith and Kaufman and Hazel, basically saying, "Oh, these are basically GOP dressed as libertarians," and that's all they are. So the Republicans and Democrats are basically come right out and said, "Well, they're not a serious party." Well, I think they're threatened by the fact that you guys tend to reach the youth more than they could. Well, is that something that Well, I'd like to get your opinions on that.
Yeah, especially with all the COVID stuff. Like, I just feel like, especially with like meeting everybody on Twitter and stuff, there's just this younger group of people who are like not left or right, and the libertarian and Dave Smith and everyone just really spoke to us. And yeah, they have to fight against it though, because that's democracy, right? Is like you can't have a third party in democracy, right? So they have to. As soon as you say something that's like worthwhile, they're going to like attack it. Because out here, our stupid news out here, first of all, they're fucking commies. And then they're like, Libertarian Party was created in Colorado 50 years ago. We're the third biggest national thing. And they couldn't even invite us to their debates. You know what I mean? So it's like, they know like what's in it, but they'll just say, oh, well, libertarians don't know anything, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, watch any debate. Like even the Fetterman Oz one with this like messed up as they are, it was so like scripted and bred in circuses. You know what I mean? Like they can't go outside of it. And they're like, I saw Reed, I think it was didn't Carolyn kind of go after New Hampshire public radio about not letting it's like, and they're like, well, this is how we do it. And it's like, well, you guys are all the ones saying like democracy is under like attack, yet you won't like actually participate in democracy, Yeah,
it was funny when we were at the debate protest last week. It was mostly Maggie Hassan supporters. There were like 40 or 50 of them, and they were just chanting Maggie. It was like they were like a bunch of zombies. But two Republicans showed up to support Baldock, and we actually asked them like, "Hey, do you guys think libertarians should be allowed in the debate?" And they're both like, "Yeah, is he on the ballot?" Like, "Yeah, he is." "Oh yeah, of course he should be in the debate." So then we were shouting to the Maggie Hassan supporters, "You guys think Republicans are the biggest threat to democracy, yet the Republicans think we should be allowed in the debates and you don't." It's like so ironic that they're so, like you said, they're so worried about democracy being under attack, but they're not very democratic for being Democrats.
Laszlo the Instigator, if you have a Ukraine flag or sunflower emojis in your Twitter bio, whatever you say will undoubtedly be stupid.
What does the sunflower mean? I mean, it's always from cringe accounts, but what does it mean?
I don't know. I'm not on Twitter.
I think it's an invitation to get pissed on or something.
But I am thankful that Shane got up there, and Shane did like what all of us would do. Like you, like Jeremy. I even told so I'm going to be the Colorado Mises organizer next, coming up soon. I'm going to transfer into that. But
nice.
It was like, if I had like ran for, I told them if I had ran something, I would go full Jeremy Kaufman. Like, and that's it. Like, you cannot anymore. You can't like, you can't not. You have to be like what Shane did, where Shane was like, "Do you want to apologize?" And the guy's like, Kemp was like, "Is that a question?"
Good question.
and Shane's like, do you want to apologize? Like, because out here in Colorado, the Republicans didn't do anything during COVID to make anything different. You know, they didn't do anything different.
They
cocked.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at how successful Ross Perot was in '92. He got nearly 20% of the vote.
My parents took me to a Ross Perot rally in '92. I keep trying to find the picture, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's maybe where I get it from a little bit.
That's everything. You got a photo with Ross Perot?
Not with them, but at the rally, like holding up a sign, and I was like a little kid.
Those are Forrest Gump origins.
Your turn towards based came at a young age, it seems.
It did.
Your proclivity to be based, yeah. Yeah,
you guys saw my young age based proclivity with the sign, someone, Baghdad is someone's son-of-a.
Yeah.
Like 8 years old.
I remember seeing you read when you posted it, because that made me reminded me that I'm like, I know I have a Ross Perot picture somewhere.
Yeah, I like to point that out to people, though, too, Reed, because a lot of most of what's going on in the world is out of sight, out of mind for people during their normal days. And they obviously don't show a lot of it on the news, but imagine if you're just hanging out in your house or you're at a family event and your house gets blown up or a friend gets bombed, and we just have lost the ability to put ourselves in other human shoes. And I think that's how they're able to sell so much war to us. And the idea of a limited bombing campaign or a strike or and still the language that they use, it's an incision, and meanwhile it's a fucking bomb being dropped on someone's head. And
they have it so like ingrained that it's okay if the government does it. It's okay if the government kills people.
Yeah, it's all right.
No,
so I don't know, man. I think we need to figure out some kind of diplomacy. I was reading today. I guess Putin is pulling back out of a certain part of the Ukraine. What was I forget what part it was. Some of the forces were coming out of one part, but it's not as simple as just Putin. Oh, Putin's going to end the war. That's how the war ends. I think it ends. Obviously, the details are not the same as Kennedy and Khrushchev, but it's got to be diplomacy. There's a summit coming up where I think would be a great opportunity for our leaders to talk. But it doesn't sound like the NATO or the U.S. really wants to do that. They want to just keep escalating it and arming.
Honestly, if I were commander in chief right now, I would just nuke Ukraine and Taiwan and just like throw everywhere. And maybe Tel Aviv too, and just throw everyone a
good measure.
Well, I'm not normally in favor of strikes, Reed, but I would like to see Buckingham Palace. Can we at least survive long enough to see Buckingham Palace get nuked, and then they can drop one on me? That's okay.
Yeah. So let's see: Kiev, Tel Aviv, London,
Buckingham Palace. Well, no, not London, just the palace. And the nukes are so good that they're just going to destroy the palace, so the rest of London won't be impacted.
Nukes. Yeah.
It's
like clean coal. Clean nukes, they
beautiful clean coal.
You read Cotton.
read Cottondale.
Eric, do you think the king could come in and he could ultimately broker peace like he did with Kim Jong-un, even though he really didn't do anything?
I think he's could go on to be the great dove of our time. I have people saying Nobel, and I was saying maybe okay. I mean, I definitely could have done what Rosa Parks did with the buses. I would have had that figured out in about 5 minutes. Okay. They think Rosa Parks was smart in the bus. I would have bought the bus company, okay? I think he's going to come back, Mike, and he will be the great dove of our time.
Yeah, I think he gets the nomination too in 24, guys. I don't know, man. I think DeSantis is more of a 20,
DeSantis
20
a lot of hype.
28. Well, I mean, dude, once he gets on that stage with the king, man,
I'm saying.
And the king starts putting his face in his butt cheeks like he did the Jeb.
He's quick on the draw, dude.
Yeah, his face in his butt cheeks. Like
yeah. Come here. He's just gonna
Jeb's mouth, both open cheek, right?
He's quick on the draw, dude. I mean, he's undeniable. I don't know. I think
the thing is, like, I know DeSantis didn't perform well in his gubernatorial debate, but Trump didn't even really take on Biden well. We got to remember
he didn't.
Like,
that was awful.
He is not his 2016 self. That is 8 years ago or 6 years ago now.
Who
but
built the cages, Joe?
Well, he had COVID. He had long COVID, I think.
He was off the fucking rails, dude.
It's also 2 more years from now when he'll be. Well, I guess he'd be running.
That was the beginning of. That was the beginning of Dark Brandon. Would you shut up, man?
He comes on here. He wears the biggest masks.
He's wearing the biggest masks. It's unbelievable.
He's sniffing all the girls in the front row have to wear parkas like they do at SeaWorld.
Biden's like, don't talk about my son. Like, I'm not talking about the one who died from the tumor. I don't know him. I'm not talking about him. He's like,
that was brutal. Yeah.
Wait, he said that? I'm not talking about that.
I'm not talking about the one who died.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the crack kid who loves the hookers.
But it's really just become so much more cartoonish, like especially with the Marjorie Taylor Greene debate, which I recommend everybody watch. It's 28 minutes. It is just freaking bananas, man. It's
I love her.
She and Lauren Boebert are the well. How do you feel about Lauren Boebert, Forest Mommy? Does she represent you, or is she not in your district?
No, and I'm like convinced she was just like AOC and Stacey Abrams, where she was groomed into this position, because there was articles where it was saying she was like part of this like modeling agency, and then there's people who lived out there who I know who said, yeah, she was a fucking like oil whore, like no judge, I don't judge that, but like they found her and like just like any other politician, and then you see what she says on Twitter and all that shit, and it's the same exact stuff as like AOC says, just like from a different side. So no,
Eric, that picture of the two of them in Congress yelling at Biden or whatever they're doing, it's have you seen that picture? Mike,
if they reboot Dumb and Dumber, I want that to be the fucking. It needs to be them.
Is it Boebert and AOC or Boebert and Marjorie?
And Marjorie, yeah, they look like gargoyles.
Well, that's like that cat meme of the two girls who are against the cat at the table.
Yeah.
Let me see. They're like pointing.
Yeah,
I found it. I've already got it. Hold on one second.
We're not worthy. So that's why when you have a candidate that's even remotely anti-war or is willing to talk about nukes or Assange or whistleblowers, we're all like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it's like, that should just be baseline. We should expect that to be baseline for our friggin' politicians and our leaders. That's how bad things have got with that. So,
did any of your guys' people who are campaigning for the midterms even talk about COVID other than Shane Hazel? Because none of them here, right or left, brought it up. They didn't even bring up what happened. So that's what I'm still stuck on.
It's going to be a long, dark, deadly winter for us, Mommy. That's why you're going to have to come to Uncle Brandon's cabin. We're going to read excerpts from Ashley's diary, as performed by Meryl Streep.
To fill up on that, they had the governor debate here in New York between Lee Zeldin and Kathy Hochul, and Hochul basically just said that she asked her if you're going to, if there was a threat of COVID to return in winter, they asked if you would do the same, if you would agree to the same protocols of 2020. And she said overwhelmingly yes. And Lee Zeldin won right there. His response was, I would not, as your governor, I would never implement any of the mandates. And basically a lot of people cheered for him. So we haven't had a Republican governor since Pataki. And I think Lee Zeldin's going to win. So.
Yeah, I was reading that too, Adam. It's possible that in New York you guys could have a Republican again. Like, it might be likely.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Republicans in south of the city itself. I mean, Staten Island itself is
they're deep MAGA in Staten. I got a lot of family in Staten Island. I think they're all MAGA.
Yeah, Long Island too. Long Island and Staten Island.
Dude, look at those two, man. They fuck. It's just like major.
And Marjorie's totally got swinger vibes. I don't know about Lauren so much, but Marjorie totally does.
Oh yeah, when I met her with Primetime 99 on the steps of the Capitol, we did our own little soft January 6th together there. She does lots of squats.
Oh, she was with the gym guy. What was his name? The fitness guy.
CrossFit. She banged one of her trainers. Yeah, she's awesome. She's great.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is cock diesel, man.
Yeah, she's got some guns.
Yeah, she looks like Bonnie Rubble on steroids. I mean, she is.
She's jacked, man.
Yeah, she's huge.
She's,
maybe you can. Yeah, Forrest Mommy's she's got the pipes.
She's got guns. Yeah.
Maybe you can weaponize Marjorie Taylor Greene and give her some good information. Like, that's the thing I wonder about too, about a lot of these young. Obviously a lot of them are not really that intelligent, but maybe you could, get them some like just good information on some of these big issues, and maybe they could be weaponized or, spouted off somewhere. I don't
Did
know.
you ever see Marjorie when she was on like Timcast? She'd be so calm and like, she would say a lot of base stuff, but then
she's like, I mean, I don't know. Feel free to disagree with me on this, Adam, but given the extremely low bar we have in Congress right now, she's one of the most anti-war people in there. After, like, you got Thomas Massey, and in the House, that's basically it. And then she has been she's been against all the sanctions on Russia, and she has been against giving money to Ukraine. I know she's god awful on other areas of foreign policy, but on this extremely, extremely low bar that we have, she's one of the better people. I think it sucks, but it's true.
Right. And look, I agree with, and this is Dave Smith actually, when he was being interviewed once, I think it was recently, he basically hit on something that I've always agreed on, is that if you want to, the worst thing you need to do is do what Biden did. He alienated the country. Same thing, just like Trump. If you want to win people over, you go to your adversary and you basically go to the people that are basically questioning their motives and you say, hey, listen, we're going to talk with you. We're going to try and make things right and stuff like that. That's how you win people over. So what I think the point that you raised here, Reed, is a very important one. I think it's going to be the backbreaker for the libertarian movement. What the libertarian movement should do is basically go to the Democrats and Republicans and go to the moderates, not to the extremists. They can't be won over. But if you go to the people that basically want to see some change, well, go and placate them and say, why would I go to the libertarian movement, for example? Say, listen, we're anti-war. We wanted some change in the federal government, how they regulate the oil market or the banking industry. We want to make real change. Well, we've heard this all before with the Democrats and Republicans. They have more money and influence than you. Yeah, right now we're in our infancy stage, but with more people like you coming to our side, we can make a difference. And look, action speaks louder than words, but we're the only people that are advocating for anti-war. We're the only ones advocating for the abolishment of, say, the Federal Reserve or APAC or the Gulf. We got to do away with this. The Democrats and Republicans are not talking about this. And if you talk about the bigger issues that affect everybody, instead of getting away with these, domestic issues that are meant to divide, sexism, racism, all this stuff, and go with the
abortion.
Right. Well, guess what? You're going to get people from the left and right listening to you, basically say, hey, you know what? I want to hitch on this ride. And that's how you build a movement.
What do you think about that, Reed?
Yeah, I think we're just a few Meghan McCain tweets away from building an impressive movement. So
I still stand by those tweets. I don't care about who was mad. I don't care about who was mad, because the people who were mad, it was like, what? Like, I don't even understand what they were exactly mad at. That it was just insensitive, but it's like everything's insensitive nowadays. Like, why did that make so many people mad? It was just bizarre.
We cheer serial killers when they're executed by the state. Why don't we cheer serial killers when they die?
And that she took the pictures at the funeral. She's the one who chose to have these PR photos taken of her at the funeral.
I didn't think those were real at first, and Reed's like, "No, those are real." I was like, "Oh my!"
You're talking about the gravestone pictures.
Oh, I'm talking about she put her fucking book on her dad's grave.
Yeah, that too. Like,
dude,
it was like,
dude.
Yeah.
And she's only there because of the name. She doesn't care about politics and shit. Like, down, it's just because it's what she thinks she needs to do.
I think she retweeted Reed Coverdale's tweet like 6 times.
6 times, yes. I remember I was watching the whole time, so I was waiting to pick someone up at the airport, and like she just kept hitting. And it's like, if it makes you that upset, why are you still retweeting it? Like,
Exactly.
And I know even Dave was like mad, but I'm like, I don't care. Like, that's the shit that needs to happen, and it got attention. It got you on the it was on the actual mainstream news stuff.
LPNH.
Oh yeah, fuck! It was all over the place.
Did it go from 20 to 30,000 because of that? Reed, the followers.
Oh yeah, we gained like 10,000 followers within a month.
You stirred the shit.
So LPNH is number 2 behind National, right?
Yeah, and we're several thousand ahead of the next closest one.
Incredible.
All right. We need critical thinking says, I vote and register third party for truth bombs like this for the war on information. Search Jill Stein on closing U.S. military bases, CNN Town Hall, the People's Math Front on YouTube.
Dude, I got to meet Based Plant Mommy. Finally.
Look, I don't know a lot about her, but I know she likes environment.
I voted for her in 2016. In the general,
if I could do it over again, I probably would instead of Gary.
Yeah, I voted for Gary Aleppo too.
Well, we did a double prong thing, Eric. You voted for Gary, and I voted for Base Plant Mommy, and
we both lost. So it's
we both lost. Yeah, I don't think I've ever voted for anyone who's ever won, ever.
Dude, we love Base Plant Mommy.
I have once. I'm really ashamed. You know who it is?
Wasn't it W? No,
Maggie
Obama.
Hassan.
Oh, Maggie. Yeah,
I'm not even going to talk about my record. So,
although Maggie Hassan was better than Kelly Ayotte. Kelly Ayotte was a ghoul.
Yeah, Eric actually confronted her about drone bombings once, Eric. Right?
Man, she's so bad.
She is a retard.
Not a fun retard, a bad retard, right?
Were you at a fundraiser with her, Eric? And you just kind of caught her off guard. You're like, oh, can I get a picture? And then you were just like, yeah. So what about these drones? Or something like that.
He Ben spawned her.
Yeah, I did. I said, how do we justify killing children in Pakistan with drone strikes? How do you feel about that being a senator? She's like, we don't kill children with drone strikes. I was like, wow. Yeah.
What is Jill Stein? What party was Jill with?
She was the Green Party nominee in 12 and 16.
She likes environment for us, Mommy.
She likes environment.
Do you know who likes the environment even more? It's conservatives. That's who donates the most land and money towards saving the environment.
Yeah, so they can have their sex trafficking rings underground.
We have Kevin Costner in Montana doing all kinds of great things with Yellowstone.
He's in Colorado. He has a place in Colorado too.
He cooked for Liz Cheney.
Yeah, I was going to say he stands with Liz Cheney.
What happened to Costner, man? He was all about the JFK.
All these actors thought they had to fucking put their opinion out there, and it's just just shut up and act. And him
unless it's based. Yeah, we don't want to hear it unless it's based.
Yeah, unless it's Kanye, I don't want to hear you.
His whole with the whole Yellowstone thing, the people, his crowd, for him to have done
Yeah, well, John Malkovich actually spoke out recently for Julian Assange. I don't know if you guys saw that. That was great to see that.
Who did?
John Malkovich.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he spoke out for Assange. So, I mean, I get what you're saying there, Forrest Mommy. I mean, I think...
No, there are some who are cooler. The guy from Shawshank Redemption just spoke out, too, against, vaccines and shit.
Tim Robbins.
There are some.
He's based he's become based on... I met him and Susan Sarandon at a John Edwards event here in New Hampshire during 2008. He's a big boy.
I gotta say, Susan Sarandon, I've always had the hots for her, and I still think she's hot. I'm just gonna throw that out.
Mommy milkers.
I rewatched Rocky Horror recently, and she's got to be in her 70s, and I think she's still. I still find her to be very attractive.
Well, they eat those babies and stuff, so.
They have the drink the baby cream with the Kardashians. They put on their eyelids, and they have all kinds of stem cells going on, being injected at various orifice. So,
various orifice, Reed. Fucking horrify.
Yeah,
I'm horrified every time I hear it.
So, Base Plant Mommy, I actually got to spend 3 hours at her house in 2015, which is the very first Jacqueline Radio interview that we ever did. And
she lives in the Northeast somewhere, right?
She lives in Massachusetts.
She's in Lexington, Mass.
And she didn't know us. She didn't but she let us come down to her house and set up camera equipment. And
she needed PR because, when you're, you need. When
you're a Base Plant Mommy with
These are pre-Howie Hawkins days when they would get more than fucking Kanye West does when he runs for president. So, dude, that was so funny. The Green Party came behind Kanye West in 2020.
Well, the reason I had to vote for her was because she had 9/11 Truth on her platform, so I just couldn't vote for anyone else.
She's based on Palestine. The Green Party are good on a lot of things: drugs,
they are.
Surveillance, Israel,
foreign policy.
Gary Johnson doesn't know what Palestine is.
What's Palestine?
Well, I'll build a palace in Taos, New Mexico.
It's funny.
What's he doing these days? He's just biking.
Yeah, what is he doing? It's funny because even the libertarians are we're not going to run to win. We're going to run to recruit, basically, this next time. That's what I feel like is going to happen. It's not about winning. It's about, look at Dave. He's a normal fucking dude you would have hung out with in high school. And and he's saying things that's what I think that's what sucks about when you're a smaller party. But
right, getting the message out there and getting in front of the most.
Just think of how many people during COVID and all this stuff were attracted to that, and especially they say the whole Mises is all alt right and shit, and Andrew's always no, but we have Forrest Mommy and shit, because I'm no, we're not, and it's not about that, that's not what it's about. It's about the freedom to do whatever and stuff. So
yeah.
have hope a little bit with that, I suppose. But
We need critical thinking says they won't let a good third party win, so voting and registering for them is to elevate them to amplify the things you agree with to get this info into the masses.
We need critical thinking, but what else do we need?
We need wall, and we need brain. Okay, I got a big
nootropic. We need nootropics and vitamins.
We need big. We need
Indoors.com.
brain. We need tough, and we
And
need
the
wall.
thing about the hurricane is it's big and it's wet. Okay.
Speaking of nukes, Ed, we could nuke the hurricane. Forget about nuking Russia. Let's nuke the hurricane.
I really think
Hey,
we
at
should
least
start.
Trump just wanted that. That's a tweet. I'm gonna make that from LP.
We're going to throw a nuke into the
At least
Sharknado.
Trump only wanted to nuke the hurricanes.
Oh, I forgot about that.
we're
Did
gonna
he say that?
Well, look, we could starve. We could starve Rosie. Excuse
Yeah,
me. We
some
could
of us
starve
about
Rosie
nuking
O'Donnell
something.
for a couple of weeks, and then take a slingshot and hurl her at the hurricane and see what happens. I think it's a good idea.
Do you guys? Can I
Oh,
ask you guys a question about
Yeah.
Trump real quick? Do you honestly believe he's outside of it all, or do you think he's still inside of it to some extent?
What, like
And part of the plan.
part of the gang, like a part of the club? I think he is part of the club, but I think he pisses off a lot of the other people who are in the club because he doesn't act the way they want him to, and he doesn't behave the way they want him to. But ultimately, I mean, when he was in really bad financial distress in the early 90s, he ended up getting bailed out by like 20 banks, to the tune of $900 million. So, he's beholden
Some
to
change.
certain interests, and there's some.
change. I'll pay him back. It's fine.
Look, I mean, I got a small $900 million loan from the Rothschilds, which I paid back with interest. But, I mean, if you look at a lot of what he actually did when he was president, a lot of it was kind of middle of the road Republican type stuff in practice.
Right.
I mean, he got the embassy moved, which was not even George W. Bush could do that, right? In Israel. And he kept a lot of the bombings going all over the world. He had the coup in Venezuela. So
He didn't fire Fauci.
no, he didn't fire Fauci. He didn't pull us out of Afghanistan, but I had
He
to deal
was
with
too
that.
busy fighting the deep state guys.
Excuse me, Reed. I had to deal with Abdul. Okay, not Paula Abdul, but
And he put
the other
the
one. He lives in a
emergency
tent in
order
the
in.
desert. And I showed Abdul a photo of his tent, and I said, "Look, if you kill any of our troops, I'm going to bomb this tent." Okay, so
Showed a picture of his tent, Reed. For fuck's
now,
sake.
if he stood up for Julian Assange, for Snowden, for Manning. Well, actually, no, Obama.
Albright.
Man.
What's Ross's last name?
Albrecht. If he did any of that, and he actually released all the Kennedy files, and he actually shut the fucking wars down, and he was better on whistleblowers and better on the militarism, then I would have, I would say, yeah, he's outside of the club. But I think largely he's part of the club. I mean, I don't think he's just a total plant or a distraction, but I mean, they didn't expect him to win, man. I really didn't think. I don't think he even expected to win.
Yeah,
He's just useless. I don't think he was a plant. He just literally had no idea what he was doing, and they would like let him get a little bombastic with his speeches, and then they'd be like, "Okay, buddy, now sign this arms deal."
Look what happened, Reed, when he tried to fucking pull out of when he shut Syria down to a certain extent. They flipped the fuck out when he moved some things around in Syria, and it stopped the arming of the nice moderate rebels that John McCain was over there blowing with Lindsey
The Kurds. We gotta protect the Kurds. Remember that whole thing?
Yeah, he tried to do one thing like that, and he saw what he was dealing with, and then obviously the Afghan pullout, was what it was. I was glad he was talking about it and wanted to do it and put a deal in place. But yeah, I think largely, I mean, Ryan Dawson has a film called Donald Trump's Zionist Ball and Chain, which I think is a really good way to look at his foreign policy and who he placated for 4 years. I mean, we almost went to fucking war with Iran when he assassinated Soleimani. Mike and I say this a lot. That was like the most worried I was during Trump's presidency. That's when I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. And obviously when he bombed Syria, that was horrible too. But when he assassinated Soleimani, obviously he did that for Netanyahu in Israel. When he had the embassy moved, Daddy Sheldon Adelson ponied up over $100 million for that to happen. So largely, I don't think he was this huge change agent. He was certainly something different in that he just laid bare how disgusting and corrupt and rotten the whole political system is. Because what happened is one of the oligarchs came down from his tower and actually ran in the Kabuki Theater election with all the other pedigree candidates who have been planning their run for office for, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, like Hillary Clinton.
Oh.
He just came down. He's like, look, you're having a tough time today. I gave you a lot of money. And they had to deal with him. So it was like fun in that regard. But I think just all the things Mike highlighted that he didn't do, if he had done those things, then I'd be like, whoa, this guy is something different.
We're going to go after the girlfriends, Adam, okay? We're going after the hijackers and terrorist girlfriends in a way like you've never seen, okay? He was fun. He's funny, but, yeah, I don't know, man. I think, he was even tweeting about the Kennedy files, and we're in the month of November. We're at the 59th anniversary, and I've certainly been researching and interested in the Kennedy assassination for a long time, and I'm going to be doing some shows about that this month.
What happened to the whole Mar-a-Lago thing? What happened to the whole Mar-a-Lago?
I had some of the photos. I had Jackie's dress down there. I had all these things that I was going to present. I was going to use as leverage against Pompeo, but not so much.
I had Jackie Kennedy's nudes.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you don't really hear about the documents.
It's out. Like, I don't watch the news anyways, and I'm off Twitter now too. But like, I haven't seen anything about all that. Like,
wow,
at all.
I haven't even thought about it, Forrest Mommy. There you go, out of sight, out of mind. I don't know.
I guess it was terrible. He had all those terrible documents or something. What did they say he had? Like nuclear documents or something?
Yeah, supposedly he maybe had some nuclear information that he was.
It was hurricane protection for if a hurricane was coming up against Florida, so you could take it out.
Yeah, it was photos of Jeb and Cruz's wife. Who I didn't call ugly, but they are ugly. Let's be honest. Okay, look at that face. Look at Carly Fiorina's face.
Look at that face.
What do you think about that, Adam? The whole Mar-a-Lago thing.
It's worrisome because some of those documents were relating to the issues of China and Iran, and I'm wondering if they already have. And this is speculation, but I'm wondering if the United States Central Intelligence Agency is already in these countries, basically giving back information regarding the weaknesses of the security of both countries. I don't think it's feasible to see a ground war with China, which is almost an impossibility. That's not so much with the Iran. Iran is a formidable country that has a very good navy too, and I think this would be a long war actually, which would really hurt the economy of this country in its own right. And we're already in big trouble because in the next 2 or 3 years we're going to start seeing the ramifications of the COVID recession, and as well as a rise in homelessness, which we're seeing here in the city already.
You just print more money. You just print more money and it's fine. You just print more money and give people more money. You don't have to worry about the economy then. I'm just kidding.
But if you think this is the first time a president's been sneaking out documents relating to national security, boy, do I got a bridge to sell you.
Sandy Berger.
That Trump is only in the limelight because the legacy media and establishment dislike him because he disrupts the apple cart when he shouldn't. But he's not totally against, as Mike would say. And I think what he basically did was give us a favor. Did us a favor. He said, take a look behind the curtain for a little bit, peek, and see who's really running the country. And it basically showed that it isn't the president of the United States. It sure isn't. It's the people who don't want you to know their names, who have a vested interest in foreign policy and how far they could take it in the benefit of the military-industrial complex of fossil fuels in the banking industry. And these are the people that we should be worried about. These are the people that pull the strings for most of the interest, domestic and abroad.
Yeah, they're really running the show. I agree. And they got us arguing about these basically actors, these politicians that they flail around on TV and, red and blue. They're just front people, It's like Jesse Ventura says, I think all these politicians should wear NASCAR jackets with their corporate sponsorship on it. You should say Raytheon and Exxon and all the military contractors. I mean, because that's really what it is. And Eric's been to both RNC and DNC conventions, and all the suites and all the really VIP access is just given to the defense contractors and to energy and pharma.
They're all in the White House, all the Raytheon board members and stuff, right? Like, and
wasn't
Lockheed
Blinken?
Martin.
Blinken was he Raytheon?
Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin was Raytheon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just that revolving door.
And then like another lady I
Paul
remember
voted for him, traitor.
did Rand, yeah.
Well, Reed, let me explain that one to you. He threatened to come and rake my yard, and I didn't want him to do it, but he was going to do it with a drone, not with a rake.
Yeah, dude,
So-
when Rand endorsed Baldic, people were like, "Oh, Rand's dead to me now," and I was like, "This is nothing." Have you
That
seen
only-
his list of endorsements in the past? Like,
Reed, that only made you love him even more when he endorsed Baldock, right?
no,
Well, you know what I mean.
he's my
Those
favorite little. He's my favorite little libertarian weasel. You know,
He's
like
our
sometimes
favorite
the
little
ones-
weasel.
The ones we love the most hurt us, and we have
They hurt us the
we have to
most.
accept that.
I mean, politics is bullshit, anyways, right? So I can't even imagine at the federal level, like.
Well, imagine what
we love the most hurt us.
Imagine what
Boy,
Rand
is
has
that
to
ever
deal with. You know, nobody likes him. Even like I'm not here to make friends, contrary to my shining, shimmering personality and all the good times that I invoke and what I do at the congressional baseball games and in the pool when I may or may not have COVID.
Wow,
You
that's good, Mike. That's good.
Yeah, you like that?
Dude,
I'm
what
working
did,
on
what
that
did
one,
I
Adam.
say? He has the charisma of a mud flap. Isn't that what I said once?
A mud flap?
Yeah, it's the charisma of a mud flap.
Mike, do Dr. Frankenstein. Do it, Mike.
Well, when I had the hearings, I said, Dr. Frankenstein, I mean Dr. Levine, are you in favor of giving underage children puberty blockers without parental consent? Yay or nay, amiga?
Wow, that's
And
good.
then she smirked at me, Adam, and then I said to Dr. Fauci, I said, are you running an illegal dog gambling operation with Michael Vick? You know?
Mike. That's excellent. That's excellent.
Oh,
That's a
I'm
good.
glad you like it.
It's become
He's got the
really
war-
niche.
He's got the warble down, you know.
Yeah, he's got it. He's got it.
Do you support microdosing children's cereals with puberty blockers? You know?
Are you in favor of putting puberty blockers in the cinnamon toast crunch of kids in the Castro? Speaker Pelosi, and I was supposed to be given an answer in writing to my office, and it was never issued. You know, he's not happy to be there.
No, dude, he hates everybody and everything. You know,
I'd rather be in Venezuela doing cataract surgery on my own dime. You know? And I got to say that for Rand, man. I think he is a decent person deep down, and he really does care about humanity, and he really is anti-war. But he's playing the game.
He cares about humanity, but he hates it too. He's one of those guys, you know, like he hates everybody.
He's like Rorschach, and he's like Rorschach from Watchmen, you know? He's
Dr.
like, you'll all
Manhattan.
look to me when the world is burning and say, save me, and I'll say no. You know?
Well, did he feel like he had to do this because of his dad, and then
He was
he has to
compelled.
play the game, like where his dad
Yeah.
wasn't as much about that,
No.
but like
Well,
I feel like
that-
Rand does.
Rand got to golf with
He
the king.
has an internal conflict because sometimes I do that too. Like I question myself whether I want to continue doing this forward and studying certain events but what else would I be doing? But I'm like at the same time I hate the common people for allowing themselves to vote. Like for next week, we're going to see a lot of people vote for these people that don't deserve your vote. But they'll keep saying, well, we got nothing else. And you can have something else. And the libertarian movement is right there in front of your face. We can change the paradigm. We really can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to us. It's not up to them. It's up to
I've
us.
seen it even in a little bit on like even just like my Instagram was a lot of my old friends pre-COVID, and a lot the ones who are still there who didn't unfollow me or like yell at me, they're coming around to it because they get it. And I'm like, there are a lot of people who are getting it now where it's like, okay, it's all the same. We're here because of these two parties. No matter who's in charge, we're at the same point, so I don't know. And I'm also like all of the people in Colorado who are running for libertarian spots are like normal people. They're like our neighbors, and they're like normal people, it's all the people I know, and it's like trying to get that across to people. And we don't have the super PACs to pay for them to be on TV and all that stuff because they're normal fucking people, and that's who you want not to make more rules for you. And that's why I tell people I'm like, yeah, anyone can get corrupted, right? Anyone can ever get corrupted. That can always happen. But I feel like a lot of the libertarian people would get in and not want more power for the government or more power for themselves or like just the way they think in their mind. It's not like I'm going to be a politician now for the rest of my life. It's just a different way of thinking.
They behave like Ron Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. They get in there like, Pelosi and on a congressional salary after a few years. Somehow they're worth like $100 million.
How is she? Who's even fucking voting for her still? Like, what
The hammer industry. People who make the hammers. Army Hammer, the cannibal himself, endorsed.
The best part of that whole thing was the memes and stuff, and then they brought the dildo hammers were out like the next day, right away.
Yeah,
Like,
the meme wars are I mean, it's
dude. At least as the world's ending, we have memes. Like, can you imagine, like living through the firebombing of Dresden without memes? Like, at least now we've got this hot fire.
We can laugh. We can laugh.
Yeah, just point and laugh.
Pepe and the Chad Honkler read.
Yeah, no, the Chad Honkler is everything. He smells like
Chad
cotton candy
Honkler
and popcorn.
He is the Chad Honkler.
He's personified form of Chad Honkler.
He's smiling right into his mugshot. He just like,
yeah, dude, big Joker vibes. When I saw that on WMER, I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, it didn't really help with the optics much.
Is that the Joa guy? Are you guys talking about the Joa guy?
Yeah, the guy who cut
mugshot.
They actually arrested him?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, he went to.
Oh wow, do they?
He's the guy who cut off Baldock's head there in the ISIS style
Yeah,
decapitation video.
Yeah, he had a spear and he threw it at him, and Baldock just jumped out.
Luckily, Reed puts everything on Instagram too, so I can see it on Instagram.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's good.
I don't have Twitter anymore, so
Well, you kind of do, but not like.
Kind of, yeah.
All third parties should unite for a third party movement to open the debate. Polls show the majority wants third parties in the debates. Yeah, I mean, I think most registered voters actually independents in this country, or at least in most states.
I think it depends on the state laws, but yeah, New Hampshire, it's like 40% or something.
Yeah,
I got a bunch of my friends that called the news station. I'm like, we're calling the news station. Like, I got people who aren't even involved in libertarian or any politics, and they're like, yeah, that's stupid. We should be able to hear the libertarian, So I got people that call them. So yeah, I think there's a lot of people who want the third party. Like, it's the news stations who say democracy's under attack, and then they only invite 2 people. And there's like more than 3 people. There's like 5 or 6 people per thing. It's
right. There should be.
If I could, let me ask you guys a question about the libertarian movement. Why? 2 questions. 1, why is it so fractured? And 2, what would you do if you could change it and get everybody together in the same mindset?
It's so fractured because it's a movement of individualists, where every other movement is, mostly collectivist. So. With conservatives, it's very easy to rally behind America and God and, like these types of things. And then for leftists, at least in the past, I don't really get what they're rallying around now. But in the past, it's been like, class solidarity and workers' rights and unionizing. And then liberals, it's like, for protecting the environment. And, like they have like causes that can supersede their individual thoughts on something, where libertarians, they have this very individualist mindset, so it's hard to be willing to put disagreements aside and say, because I mean everyone is going to disagree on something at some point, so you have to compromise a little bit, or at least be like, all right, this issue isn't as important to me right now, so I don't really care, and we can focus on these big issues. So to me, the war thing is the super obvious one. Like, if you're not anti-war, I don't think you are a libertarian, and I think that's a fair disqualifier. And then, in other areas, as long as you don't want to add anything onto what's already there, I'm cool with it, like whatever. So I think that's a great starting point, is just really focusing on the anti-war stuff. But I think it's important to have people leading the movement who are really libertarians. Like, I don't think we should have people who kind of come in and try to subvert it and water it down. I think some people think that we should basically give up all our principles and then more people will join us and we'll have a bigger movement. I don't think that's true. I think if we're really stalwart in our beliefs and we really show other people that we mean business and that we stand for something, that's going to be more impressive to them. Even if they disagree with us on a couple things, then they'll want to be like, I want to check this thing out. These guys are really, getting after this and really standing for something. So I think trying to find the most important issues and coming around those and then really standing for them and not compromising on them at all. I think that's actually how you ironically build a bigger movement than just kind of being like, everybody come in and we'll figure it out and we'll, all meet in the middle somewhere. Like, I don't think that really gets us anywhere. But I don't know. What do you think, Force Mommy?
I think it is too. Like I think one of the biggest hangups I see most people, because it makes me so mad because people on Twitter just fight all the time, right? I'm like, we're in the middle of like the biggest totalitarian shit. Y'all are fighting about lifestyle shit. It's lifestyle stuff or like tribal stuff, and it's like, I'm not married and I'm childless, but I can still say, hey, yeah, if you have a kid, you should have a mom and a dad. You know, like there's all these things where like people can't say, yeah, there are better ways to do it or more logical ways to do it. And then they just fight about it. They just fucking fight about it the whole time. And I'm like all that, like Hopians are great and all that. Actually, I'm going to have one on my show on Sunday. But it's like they're sitting around arguing about who they're going to let in their community. And I'm like, nobody wants in your fucking community. Like, you guys are annoying. Nobody's even talking,
Yeah.
you know, like they just argue about this. Yeah, they argue about this stuff. And it's like, my best friend, one of my best friends is a cross-dresser who voted for Trump. Like, you have to like look beyond some of this stuff.
That's
you have
amazing.
To look, yeah, you have to look beyond. And I understand the left and tribalism has made it very like strict, you know, like these people believe this, but it's like, it's not like that. You have to like, and it's a hard thing for a lot of humans to do. That's why humans are so tribal, is like, you have to understand, you have to get to know and understand people on their individual who they are level, like who they are. You can't prejudge them based on this and that. And I think that's why a lot of people liked me on Twitter and stuff, because I'm all over, you know, like I'm all like, I accept everybody, but I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I have my, you know, but people are so scared to do that. I don't know. It's just, I got excited during COVID to meet all the Liberty people. So I'm thankful for that. And that it's all like normal-ish people, in my opinion. So
they can ban us, but they can't separate us, right? Forrest Mike.
Hell yeah. I'm just getting more now. I'm like, okay, I'm not wasting time on Twitter. I'm going to waste time like actually doing shit.
She's just going to be worse.
I am getting worse. You don't even know.
Adam, what Reed said is why I won't join the Libertarian Party, officially become a party member. A lot of people like just think I'm a libertarian or a free stater. I've been in New Hampshire for 25 years. I'm an independent, and I align with the libertarians on a lot of issues, the big picture issues: war, drugs, civil liberties, the surveillance state, you know, personal liberty, that kind of stuff. But it's like what you said. It's like fucking high school. And it's just people arguing, little groups arguing amongst each other, while the other two main parties just eat the libertarians' lunch and everything and suck all the air out of the room because they're busy arguing like a bunch of retarded feral cats.
They're like literally arguing about who they don't want to let in their community. And I'm like, maybe
so,
no one wants in your community right now. Like, I'm blocking all of you because you're annoying. Like,
your community doesn't exist. Your Hopian community doesn't even
worry about it when people actually want to start coming in your community. But for now,
my little baby bordertarian Hopian, you know?
Yeah, do all the buzzwords.
I can't even remember them now. My little Hopian, bordertarian,
Wolbert,
Kneecap, Rothbardian, and Cap.
They like remind me of the kid. They remind me of like the left, where there are these people who are in the lunchroom who are like, "Oh, these people aren't allowed to be my friends. And these people aren't allowed to be my friends." You know, that's what it reminds me of. It's like,
and this is why I love Scott Horton, because he's the godfather of anti-war with liberty.
He's the guy who wrote enough already.
That dude's the brain trust, and we should be rallying around like what Scott Horton's doing. And I think to a large extent that is what Dave Smith is all about. And I know he puts a lot of stock in what Scott Horton has to say in his research and his record. So that's where I'm in alignment with Liberty and Mises. Like, I'm with him on that stuff. Obviously, Ron Paul is the godfather of all that too. So.
But you also don't have to be like so strictly like. That's what I liked about the Mises too. It's like you don't have to be like.
Well, that's it. You don't have to be this rigid fucking closed off. It's like a cult. You know, you end up becoming the thing that you rail against and say, "Oh, I'm not like that." Well, you are like that. So that's what turns a lot of people off. So if we can come at it big picture, and like what Reed said, just start with something like war, start with something like civil liberties, COVID, how we were treated during COVID. Let's get together around those issues. The rest of the other minutia and bullshit, you know, talk about that in your own time, but don't make that like front and center of everything that you do, because that's what turns regular people off. Right.
The O'Donnell caucus.
What's that?
I said the O'Donnell caucus.
Is he causing trouble lately? I love Justin.
Oh yeah,
he
I
loves
love
to cause
him.
trouble.
We all love him. We could never forsake him. But
to know him is to love him, and meeting him in real life is an experience that I won't soon forget.
He's the next Four Horsemen guest, so it's going to be wild. Everyone get ready for that one.
When is that one?
You heard it here, folks. When is it, Reed?
Sunday
the 13th.
Oh, this Sunday. Okay.
All right, everybody. Well, we're coming up on an hour 40. I think that might be a good spot to close things off for the night. I really appreciate all you guys coming on, man. It was a lot of fun and a really illuminating and engaging conversation. And, we need to do more of it. And just this, just having a conversation, getting some people together who certainly agree on a lot, but there might be some disagreements or other ways to go about, achieving an end goal. But I'm trying to even have on more people that I don't agree with. Like I had a Democratic candidate for state rep come on who I've known personally for a while, and I just let him speak. I think we need to do that more too, man. We need to get out of our echo chambers, and we're all guilty of it. I certainly have more fun talking to people that I agree with, but I don't know.
I just want to post sexy pictures, but
hey,
I'm off of Twitter, so
I'm all for that. Me and Kelly are looking to mix things up in Kentucky for us, Mommy. If you're ever in town and you want some smoky bourbon and some leaf,
I need to learn how to talk like Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's what I.
Oh yeah. We got to bring you in on the cosplay. Eric can be Trump. I'll be Rand and Alex Jones, and we'll have you be MTG.
I love the way you storm that Capitol. It makes me so excited. Unbelievable. The way that you lunge for that Capitol Guard's throat with your teeth. I've never been more excited.
So, Forrest Mommy, you're not on Twitter, but what is your YouTube channel? Where can people find you?
My YouTube is Forrest Mommy. Basically, everything is Forrest Mommy now. Instagram, Forrest Mommy CO. I have a link tree. If you find my YouTube, I have a link tree on it, but just not Twitter right now. So.
Well, I think if Elon gets in there and takes the flamethrower to the bird and fires all those soy assholes, they could bring Forrest Mommy back.
I think I'm going to get the bigger account back, the one that was like Terminator Mommy, because I think they banned me because I said groomer in my own post. I think that's why they banned me. They never told me why they banned that one. So I'm like, I wonder if I'll get that one back. We'll see.
I hope so. I hope everybody gets back on Twitter, man. Let's have open discourse. And Mr. Adam Fitzgerald, the host of the Darkened Hour podcast, doing amazing work and research, and we will have you on again to go into more of your recent research, but where can people find and support you?
Well, yeah, they could find me on just Google my name, Adam Fitzgerald 9/11. I come right up actually. But if you go to my Twitter account, I have all the links to all my sites pinned on the top of the profile page. I'm currently doing a very good series with Tommy Salmons over at the Libertarian Institute, and we're 5 episodes in about the pre 9/11 intelligence, and to now we're extending it to what happened afterwards. So that's a very good series. I'll probably take a little bit of time to finish, but we're currently working on that now. I think I'm coming out with a new episode tomorrow on the podcast itself.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, great work, man. Keep up seriously, guys. If you haven't listened to Adam Fitzgerald or seen any of his stuff, check him out. He's one of the best. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And Reed, you're not back on Twitter yet. What's going on with that? Are you I know you've appealed. I know maybe you and Elon have had discussions about puberty blockers. Where are you at with that?
Yeah, I appealed about a week ago and got denied again. So as far as I know, nothing has actually changed as contractually with the I know he's fired people and laid people off or whatever, but none of their terms of service have been adjusted, and none of the reversals on bans have been officiated or anything, I don't think. So I'm just going to wait until whatever new comes out, and then I'll appeal again. But for now, I'm on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble for video, The Naturalist Capitalist, and then I'm on all audio platforms, and then I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Gab, Getter, Float, and all the shit no one uses. So just go to Linktree.
Locals? Do you have a locals?
I have a locals. I never.
My
use
producer's always like, push your locals.
I'm on
Because that's where
locals.
people pay. So it's like, push your locals.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's great. Thank you. And thanks for coming on, Reed. And yes, everybody, I'm actually on Venmo now. It's Mike Jackman 1986. So if there's any Rand Paul fans out there and you want a Rand Paul message, or you just need to hear Dr. Fauci being held to the fire, look me up. We'll make something happen. And Lindsey Graham is certainly always just around the corner and in the closet. But thank you guys. This is a lot of fun. I really appreciate it, and we'll have to do it again soon. And To everybody watching, I hope you all have a great weekend.